It may be over, but there's shockingly a lot left open. What's up, guys? I'm Hunter, and here to do a breakdown and discussion on kind of the open-ended nature of JJK as a whole, and like all the stuff that was kind of left unaddressed, unexplained. Now, of course, there still is technically time for Gege to release like a fan book or volume extras, I do believe, though I think a lot of the volume extras that were released for the most recent volumes were already translated, and they introduced some stuff that I don't like. But I think there may be like one more volume that needs to drop, technically, I think. And then we may get more volume extras from that, which may explain something. But overall, there's some things that were left off specifically in chapter 271 that I do want to tackle, that I was going to tackle in their own unique videos, but I was looking at it and I'm like, that ain't really enough, especially considering it's over. That's like the big thing. With no sequel announced, with no nothing, it'd be believing that Gege doesn't want to do a sequel. I don't think Gege wants to touch this universe again. I just want to mention some of the stuff that was open and confused me personally. And if y'all have any answers to the things in this video, please leave them down below, because I got nothing. But editing me, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do have been to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, well, the biggest thing that bothers me personally is the fact that we don't know what's up with this guy. And not in the sense that, like, we don't know he's okay, or we don't know he's mentally, like, he's fine, but, like, where's the rest of them? We still don't really get what happened to the Ten Shadows. And it's all because of that one line from a couple chapters back that ended up really messing with the entire fandom's perception of how the Ten Shadows of Sukuna's body worked. Me personally, before that line dropped in chapter 266, I do believe, because 267 was Sabara's return, I was personally under the idea that Sukuna, Megumi, same body, same brain, same technique. So Sukuna mastering the Ten Shadows meant that when Megumi was finally free from Sukuna, Megumi got all the mastery of the Ten Shadows. AKA, he had all 10 Shadows unlocked, even though all of them were destroyed. That means he just has the remains that he can totality. But the way it was described now has me wondering, does Megumi have the 10 Shadows fully unlocked? Or does he have to go re-unlock his own Raga? Because nobody, that's in the TCBs and in the official translations. The idea that Sukuna's 10 Shadows is separate from Megumi's 10 Shadows. And I don't know, it may just be a possession thing, as in like, Sukuna can't use it because he incarnated to his body, but considering Megumi's soul is still active, we know curse techniques are reflections of the soul, not just the physical engravement on the brain. And technically, Megumi's 10 Shadows is technically different from Sukuna's 10 Shadows because Sukuna relied on the physical manifestation of the 10 Shadows in its brain. Meanwhile, Megumi reacted or relied on the one in his soul. I don't know. And the reason I bring it up is because, like, hypothetically talking about next Megumi is heavily dependent on what or he does or he doesn't have unlocked. Because don't get me wrong, I'm going to make a video talking about the potential of EOS Megumi? Who's Megumi? End of series potential English Megumi. Because technically, his potential is cracked right now. Like, he's super potential, man. I talked about this in a short, but I'm going to talk about it more in depth in its own video. But that video is heavily based on the hypothetical that he has all the 10 Shadows unlocked. We don't know because of that one Sukuna statement. It kind of flipped our perspective on how the bodies of incarnated sorcerers work, and whether or not, if the initial base body has a technique, if that technique can be replicated across a new body. I'd use Kenny as an example to show that technically maybe you can, like, transfer over things. Like, Kenny's body, even though his brain, technically we don't know how his technique works, whether it's consumption or just replacement. Technically he was able to have Kaori's technique, even though he was in Geto's body. But still, there's so many vaguenesses, well, what's the word? I want to say vaguenesses or vague knees, but I'm pretty sure neither of those are what I'm looking for. But essentially, there's a lot of mystery surrounding Kenya's technique still, and like whether or not it requires the consumption of the other brain or not, that I don't know. It's just strange that I don't use Kenya as an example. So Megumi and his potential and the whereabouts of the 10 Shadows are up in the air, to say the very least. But of course, once again, I'm not mad that Gege didn't do it, but this felt like the perfect opportunity to see him use Raga. Or whatever totality Raga would be put into, if Raga was destroyed, if he still had access to Raga, or maybe there's a hint that he doesn't have Raga, or New Way, or any of the other shadows that were destroyed. It's mainly just what went into Mahito, so Morning Tiger, Round Deer, and I think New Way, are those the 3? And Orochi. So those 4 destroyed ones, we don't know, and we also don't know about Raga. So like technically half of Megumi's kit is gone, or it's still there, and like 3 of them are untamed. We don't know. But the other big thing that kind of caught me off guard in this chapter that I do really want to know about, who is this? The whole fandom, not just me, has been genuinely confused about this one. The most common answer I've seen is Yorozu. My only issue with that, though, is the idea that Yorozu would be used as a path opposing to Rame. Because, like, for all intents and purposes, Arame is the path that Sukuna is walking down now, which he highlights as somewhat different than the path he already did. So if this is meant to be Yorozu, what does he mean by, I had two choices? I had two chances, but I had to vomit out the curses writhing in my entrails. I was afraid of the immolation by my own curse. I don't know. Like, is Arame meant to be the path of peace? And if so, he walked down the path of destruction? Then if so, that kind of makes sense for being Yorozu. But I'm not sure if Yorozu looked like this. I mean, once again, we just don't have enough of flashback Yorozu. What little we see, she does not have clothes on. Like, at all. And only we don't see her face here. And admittedly, Gege does have a little bit of the same face syndrome, so I just straight up don't know. If it's Yorozu, that's fine, I guess. But technically, the path of love is the path Sukuna already walked down, so maybe that's what he meant? I had two chances? But then again, the way this is translated is different from how it was initially translated in TCB, where Sukuna said I had two choices. This says two chances. I could have chosen how to live. So was Arame meant to be the first chance, and then Yorozu meant to be the second chance, and that's supposed to be Yorozu? I have no idea. You see my issue here? Another idea I've seen people throw around is that this could be Sukuna's mama. Once again, I don't know. I have genuinely no clue, no idea, no way to fathom if that could be the case, because we don't know what she looks like. We don't know what Sukuna's daddy looks like. We have no idea of Sukuna's history. Despite all that we've learned about Sukuna and his past and his views and his ideology and his motivations being behind revenge and negativity, we still don't know enough specific details about Sukuna just to assume this is his mama. And unfortunately, thanks to her having black hair, we just have no context for how this could produce that or Jin. Unless the daddy had the pink hair. But even that, I don't know. It's super vague and up in the air. Mama Kuna, I mean, it's fine. It makes sense. Once again, we just don't know, though, because why would Sukuna have recollection of his mother if he was an unwanted child and was seemingly thrown out at birth? But then again, we don't know. Super duper vague. Another idea. I've seen that this could hypothetically be Kenjaku, or at least Kenjaku of the Heian era, because fun fact, we never got to see that. Despite how much we've seen of Big Jaku and many other different forms, we've seen them in Ghetto, we've seen them as just the head, we've seen their brain, we've seen Coyote, we've even seen Noritoshi Kamo, we don't know what they actually looked like in the Heian period. And once again, thanks to the back being turned and not being able to see the face, we can't tell if there are stitches there. And if there aren't stitches, I've seen people say this could be Kenjaku's original form, and if that's the case, cool. Once again, we don't know. Personally, I've always theorized that Kenjaku's older than the Heian era? I've even, low-key always theorized that Kenjaku was actually responsible for Sukuna's existence in a roundabout way. But that's a personal headcanon thing that I'll go into more in depth in its own video. Once again, JJK's over, so luckily now I can just theory craft fully. But still, if that's Big Jaku, neat. But then again, what does that mean, two chances? Two paths. If you go with the original translation, two paths, then technically maybe this makes sense. Because you could say that Sukuna took Kenjaku's path of violence, experimentation, evolution, disregarding human life, and the path of transcendence, transcending the ages and stuff like that, which is what Kenjaku did, which would make sense with the two paths interpretation. But the two chances with the TCB, or not with the TCBs, with the officials, doesn't really make much sense in itself. So I don't know. Those are the three big ones I've heard. I've heard Mama, I've heard Yorozu, and I've heard Jaku, whether it be original Jaku or Jaku in another vessel. Either way, I think it's strange. Once again, it's the last chapter, Gege. You are wrapping this up. I get that Gege does want to definitely keep a lot of Sukuna in mystery, because another thing we don't know, hey, can anyone tell me this guy's name? Yeah. You know our main villain? Yeah. The guy who we've been fighting for, can anyone tell me his name? He had one, presumably. I like to call him the Nameless King, because it's a cool Dark Souls reference, but outside of that, I have no idea what to call him, other than Sukuna, even though his name is not Sukuna. Sukuna is a title. So we don't know the guy's name, which is something I was really hoping we were going to get by the final chapter, but we don't know. And once again, it's left super duper vague and up to interpretation. And I'm not even sure who the reference would be to, because I tried to look into Sukuna, but once again, Sukuna's always kind of been a title or the name of an esoteric deity. But I don't think that Sukuna's meant to be a deity. I think, especially considering what happened to him, he's meant to be a man. So I have no idea. Another thing, Mahito and his fate. I know you may be wondering, Huntsman, why the heck do you care about Mahito and his fate? But it is interesting because we see this. Sukuna, you got here first, huh? Oh, you're here? Is this the third time we've talked? Because my curse technique affects the soul. This kind of This is a kind of residue of that. This place is a passageway for the circulation of souls. I want to ask you something, Sukuna. You were lying, weren't you, to yourself and others, about living by yourself as it befits your nature? I think your life was about revenge against everyone who scorns you as an abomination. Now, we already got the explanation for that. That's the rest of the chapter. But mainly, Mahito exists again. This is supposedly residue of Mahito, so where's the real one? Like, he ends up ending off the chapter, ending off the series as a petulant child stuck in his ways, but like, where's the rest of them? Where's the rest of you? Legitimately, where is he? Is he already in the reincarnation cycle? Will he also appear in 100,000 years? Is this then to imply that Mahito will literally never change, as in he'll always come back as Mahito, and when Yuji's like an 80-year-old man, he'll have to kill Mahito for like the 20th time? I don't know. Once again, very, very vague. I like Mahito being brought up here on a meta-narrative level and on a character level, because it's just nice to have someone it's nice to have someone for Sukuna to bounce off of, to properly explain the ideology, especially since Arame wouldn't do it, and whoever that mystery character was wouldn't do it. And Mahito does make sense, as he did have interactions with Sukuna, and obviously you want to show the first real big bad major antagonist to Yuji, and the final big bad major antagonist to Yuji. Even though technically Mahito's somewhere sandwiched in the middle, because Sukuna's always been the antagonist on both ends. But still, I don't know. Leaves Mahito up to a very vague fate. Speaking of very vague fates, the body of Satoru Gojo. Now, notably, I'm in the camp that, he didn't need a funeral. I don't think he did. So I'm perfectly fine with him not getting a funeral. But, what did they do with it? Where is it? Did they burn it? I'm assuming they burned it. Because, let me see. In fact, I think Shoko mentioned it. Never mind. I think that's one question that is actually answered. But that was last chapter. Never mind. I was going to ask the Gojo question, but I think it actually was mentioned that Shoko's going to burn that body. So that'll be fine. That's taken care of. Gojo's body's going to be prepared and burned and whatever. So ultimately, that'll be fine. The actual final major question I wanted to ask, because everything else is once again mostly wrapped up here. I was going to make some questions about Yuji and his nature and why he didn't actually just consume the final fingers just in case. But with Sukuna being the remains fused with Tengen, I think maybe that was why he did that. I won't try to too deep look into that, because I'm assuming it's just a me thing, wondering why he didn't consume the final finger, because presumably that still does have Sukuna's curse energy, the broken portion of his soul. So Yuji's responsibility should have been to eat the last couple of those, and obviously a curse could still find those, considering while Sukuna's changed in the afterlife, I don't think his initial curse energy amounts would change, and anything gets their tongue on it, they're gonna eat it, and it's gonna just cause hassle. But Yuji should one-shot it, so it should be fine. The last major question, why does he still have stitches? That was the one other thing. I was going to make a separate video on the mystery of the person that Sukuna mentioned or showed and Yuta stitches. Why? Because we know Kenjaku had to keep the stitches and couldn't heal them all through RCT because it was a binding vow he made in order to maintain his curse technique, right? It's essentially think of it like the not show don't tell, but the show in your hand property of Jujutsu, where by explaining your technique, you will make it stronger. Essentially, I'm assuming that's what Kenjaku's binding vow was based off of. The idea that, hey, as long as I let you know I'm a Frankenstein type beat, this is not my original body, then no matter what, I can maintain that technique. That's how I assume Kenjaku ended up bypassing the domain burnout and wasn't necessarily worried about losing his technique after a domain expansion. He would be able to maintain that because of the binding vow, which allowed him to overcome that limitation. But why does Yuta have them? Once again, I don't think this is... I've seen some people say, oh, well, actually, secretly, this is actually Kenjaku. That's why he's in this body. He just decided to take over you. I don't think Gege would just drop it in there, especially with the Kenjaku that was shown in the previous chapter. So, I don't think that's the case. But I do immediately wonder why. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a nice aesthetic difference. And I get it, you want to have, the original core four have their difference in aesthetics in comparison to the original. Well, I'd say the original series, but yeah, technically... JJK is not the original series. It's the... Well, I guess JJK Zero is the original series. So the original series, you want to have them all look different. Inumaki lost the arm. Maki has the prevalent burn marks. Panda's much smaller. Should be dead. But Yuta having the scars, it just doesn't make sense based on how it was explained. Unless this is meant to be interpreted as, oh, Yuta needs to maintain Kenjaku's technique constantly now, because even though he's back in his own body, technically he's just running on that technique passively, and it was Mei's, third explanation, where the body just stays passive? I don't know. It's a weird detail, which doesn't make sense with how Kenjaku's curse technique was explained so far. I don't get it, but I'll take it. Do y'all know? Y'all know? That's how I want to end it all. Do y'all know the answer to any of the questions I proposed in this video? I think, once again, the only one that I think I have a solid answer to is Gojo's body. It got prepared and burned. off screen, which is fine. Once again, I don't think he needs a funeral. I think ultimately what we got of Gojo was better than just seeing them burn his body or hold a funeral for him, because considering basically no characters in the series get a funeral except for like the one regular person in Tsumoki. So with that being the case, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave team up. I'm looking at the Sun and Moon Elite Trainer box that I have right there. Leave team up in the comment section down below. I do thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below. You can support me for as low as $1, get a month. Now, things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks will include the live reaction to every other series I happen to review, and reactions to all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You can drop 5 beans for a short video, 25 beans for a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Zara, Greyhound, Eternal Flame, NMA, Real Rare, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Brandon Payne, G Prosper, and Glacier XZ. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, Sean, Igneel Lind, and A+A. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 members: Fine and Austin Wimberly, A Uchiha, along with Yuki Ally. And I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $10 members: Robbie Uchiha, Jay Warrior, and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 patrons: Overlord Zero, Joaquin Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give a final, giga, legendary, superhuman, beyond the bounds of reality thank you to our That Guy with a Pencil tier patron. Okay. Calvin Elder.